So for this skill, which is on estimate to solve word problems, we're going to use a little riddle to help us. And that riddle is 4 and below, leave it alone. 5 and above, bump it up. And I stole this little riddle from Taylor and OSU, so shout out to Taylor and OSU. And this little riddle help us basically round up or leave the number alone, depending on the digit that we're comparing the place value to. So it'll make more sense once we practice some. So let's look at this example. It says a company recently gave cell phones to its workers. So far, they have used 28,825 minutes on business calls and 41,433 minutes on personal calls. In total, about how many minutes have the workers used? Choose the better estimate. Okay, so I'm going to summarize like any word problem first to determine my plan to solve it. So it says that a company gave phones to its workers. The workers use it for personal use. They also use it for business use. And we want to find the total amount of minutes used. And since I hear the word total, that means I need to add. But then it also says to choose the better estimate. So I'm not going to look for the exact answer. So it looks like they used 28,825 minutes for business, and I'm going to add it to 41,433 for personal, and we're going to add them. But since we're choosing the estimate and not the exact answer, we need to round them. In this case, since both are like in the thousands, let's round to the nearest thousand. So I'm gonna, this is the thousands place right here, thousands, the 8, and next to the 8 is 100. So we're gonna pay attention to this digit when rounding. This digit 8 is greater than 5. So that means I'm gonna bump up my thousands by 1. So that gives me my new number of 29,000. I'm going to look at the 41,433. I'm changing my thousands place. So in order to change that, I need to look to the next digit, which is in the hundreds, and it's 4. So 4 is below 5. So I'm going to leave the 1,000s place alone. And so I'm going to leave it as 41,000. So now I'm going to add them to get a rough estimate. So I'm going to add 29,000 and 41,000 to get the total number of minutes, and I get 70,000. Another way you can check your answer is like, does my answer make sense? I got 70,000 minutes. That's one thing you can ask yourself. Does your answer make sense? So they use 28,825 and 41,433, and we're looking for the total. And that means we're adding them, right? So if I add them, am I going to get 7,000? No, right? I'm going to get a number far bigger than 7,000. So 70,000 does make sense. Let's go on to the next example, and we're going to use the same principle of rounding, but using a little riddle of 4 and below, leave it alone. 5 and above, bump it up. So it says, so far an orchard has sold a combined total of 6,597 pounds of fresh and frozen fruit this season. If they have sold 3,583 pounds of frozen fruit, about how many pounds of fresh fruit have been sold so far? Choose the better estimate. Okay, so I'm going to summarize. So they're saying that the orchard sold a total of 6,597 pounds of fresh fruit and frozen fruit. So they sold fresh fruit and frozen fruit. And then as I'm summarizing, I'm writing these notes. and the combined amount was 6,597. Which is my total amount of fruit. The season, if they had sold 3,583 pounds of frozen, and we want to find out how much fresh fruit was sold that season. If I go back, it says about how many pounds of fresh fruit have been sold so far. Choose a better estimate. So again, they're asking us to choose a better estimate. Before we can solve for the amount of fresh fruit, we need to round. Okay, so both are in the thousands. So I'm going to round to the nearest thousand, and I'm going to look at the next place value, which is the hundreds, and it's in the 5. So I remember 5 and above, I round up. So I'm going to round my 3 to 4. So be 4,000. And then I'm going to look at my 6,597. I want to round this number. I want to round to the nearest thousand. So I'm going to look at the hundreds place. And then I'm going to remember my riddle, 5 and above. I round up or bump it up. So that means I'm going to round the 6 up to 7,000. And so I need to solve for x. So x plus 4,000 equals 7,000. So I know inverse operations. So I need to do the inverse operation, and the inverse of addition is subtraction. So I'm going to subtract by, you probably know this in your head already, but just so you can see how it makes sense mathematically. And I'm left with x, which is x, which is 3,000, which is, in this scenario, the amount of fresh fruit. Okay, so before I submit, I need to ask myself, does my answer make sense? So it says the orchard combined a total of 6,597 pounds of fresh and frozen. I only know the amount of frozen, which is 3,583, and I need to find out how much was in fresh fruit. Choose a better estimate. Okay, so since I'm trying to find the missing amount and I use subtraction, it looks like I'm going to get a number less than 13,000, which is the other option. So my answer does make sense. Another reason why they probably throw out 13,000 in there is to trick you. So you might think, oh, total add. I'm going to add them. I'm going to get 13,000. So be very careful. Make sure you read carefully and summarize as you read, so that way you know what operation to do. So in this case, it's 3,000, and then we're going to submit, and then we have it right.